Yeah, we will cut the beginning part. Yeah. So
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm 月月爱物理, and today I invite two professors. And this is Professor Robert Mann. This is Professor Yi Wang. Hi.
hi.
So today I like to interview them for some questions about applications. So the first question is, should I consider to do PhD in physics? Do you have any suggestions?
Well, if you're interested in physics, then yes, I think you should give it serious consideration. It's a very interesting subject, and
Mm-hmm.
in some sense, physics is the ultimate interdisciplinary science. You deal with all kinds of things from different materials to lasers to biomaterials to ideas about cosmology, astronomy, subatomic particles. It covers all of the basic aspects of science. So if you're interested in any of those things, then yes, I think the person should consider it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think so. So this doing PhD in physics actually, since PhD is research related, so that really means if you want to do research in the future, or at least want to have a taste of research, depending on if you want to do research in the institutions, or
Mm-hmm.
if you want to, for example, go to a high-tech company, which also require research components. So that will be very important. And least but not last is you are very interested in physics. And since both Robert and I are researchers on theoretical physics, so
Mm-hmm.
usually when I have students coming to me, so one of the questions I ask is if this research is the first thing that they are interested in. So if they are more interested in, for example, the pleasure that can come from after the work, so I go to some best place for vacations. And then maybe it's more efficient that they go to some company and they may earn some more money.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but if the pleasure that they really have is from the learning, from the research, from in the future they have academia, this kind of job, then PhD in theoretical physics is what they should consider.
Getting a doctorate is about discovery. It's about discovering new science. And
Yes.
if you like doing that, then yes, I certainly encourage a person to get a PhD.
Yeah, thank you. So regarding the application, so what is the most important factor when you are considering to enroll a PhD or not? So for example, the average score or the research.
Well, certainly in the universities I'm familiar with, uh, a student's grade point average is very important. The higher, the better. However, there are certain cases that
Mhm.
might be considered exceptions. Sometimes a student does not have as strong a grade point average as others, but they have a record of having done research in a laboratory or with one or two well known professors, and
Mhm.
that research made an impact. So that would be counted as well. But I would say what most places look for first is the grade point average.
So this happens in the US and Canada.
US, Canada, European institutions, I would assume Asian institutions as well.
So I only have experience in my own institution, which is Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. But my general impression, so correct me if I'm wrong, is that in some sense depends on how these offers are made. So it's
Mm-hmm.
made by merely the decision of a committee who
Mm-hmm.
is in charge of deciding giving the
Mm-hmm.
offers, or is the supervisor has more saying on that. So my impression is if the supervisor has more saying, so that really comes to how much the supervisor knows the student.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the student, the GPA is not well, but is very, the supervisor knows very well that the student can do better research. So
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine. But if it is made by a committee, uh, well, of course, the committee also like to get the students who has strong research capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
But the committee may not know the students as well as the individual supervisors. So maybe the GPA is a faster thing to look at.
Well, this is where I said there can be exceptions, such as research, and a prospective supervisor may know of something in research a student has done or some other thing. It may not be in research, it may be in industry for a while, and they would take that into account as individual supervisors are able to do. That does happen at the University of Waterloo, where I'm from. But I would just emphasize that while there are exceptions to the rule that good GPA helps, the rule is good GPA helps.
And how do you usually read the CV and the research statements? What will impress you most?
Well, for me, I'm impressed by students that demonstrate a passion for science and an interest in the subject. I am less concerned with the details of the research statement and more concerned with what it is they're really interested in, where it is they really like to go, and in particular, if they've had some interesting or unusual research experience of some kind. Those are the kinds of things I would look for.
Yes, the same for me, that interesting things are more important. What I mean is not only the interesting things in research, but in general. So this person is more likely by doing these interesting things to have the passion in doing what they are interested in. So I think in general, so that really depends on if the why the supervisor wants to get students. Either the supervisor want to get the students to write a few more papers, or they want to be together to do something interesting. So I think ideally in doing research, so we are doing some interesting research. So the paper is a byproduct. Is when we are getting there. So we are publishing the papers in this way, and also so I think many supervisors really they want to so the student as a person in the future they are successful. So also these people who really has the passion, who really interested in doing not only research but loves the life. Okay,
Yes.
so all these kinds of aspects, I think they are very interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not really, it's hard to tell from the CV, but also we can tell from all other aspects. For example, yeah, do you know that previously Jia Yue contacted me as well? Well, but I said we can discuss, but if she's more interested in other places, yeah, she feel free to explore. Yeah, but actually, I didn't really ask Jia Yue any questions before. I'm saying that so if she's willing to come to me, I can give an offer. Why is that? Because so after getting the information, I secretly searched and found Jia Yue's channel. And then, so this popular science and teaching channel means that Jia Yue not on the one hand really is good in the learning, so can explain the things very well, and also has the passion to do it. So I think this is all we need to do research. So I didn't really ask Jia Yue any questions before saying so if she want to come, so I can give an offer.
Yes, whereas in my case, I actually did interview Jiayu on Zoom before she came to before she came to the University of Waterloo to work with me. So it really, I mean, both of these things can be true. You may feel you don't need to interview a student. Sometimes you may feel you do need to interview a student. It depends on each individual situation, I think.
Yes. And do you think the reference letter are important, and why are they important?
Reference letters are certainly important in North America. Personally, sometimes I feel they are viewed as being more important than they should. The main place they help is if a student has had research experience with a professor or in industry and they get somebody to write about what they did in that experience, in that company or in that lab, that does help. It gives a bigger, a more complete picture of who the student is and what they did.
There are different kinds of letters. That
Mhm.
some are important, some are not so important, or even negative. These important letters are that for example, the research supervisor
Mhm.
or who that really knows you well and would like to write you for a letter, which
Mhm.
is a strong letter. In this case, so usually this letter is written very well and has a lot of information that from a person that we usually trust. So
Mhm.
this is very important. But sometimes there are other cases. For example, so the person don't really want to write a letter, but just write like a paragraph and saying this student did what, and without any comments. So
Mhm.
this shows the person is not very interested in writing the letter, which is not good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So my impression is if we when we are asking the referee to write a letter, so it's kind of trying to see. So if you are willing to write for me a strong letter, instead of in the sense that if they don't want to, so they have a graceful way not to write a letter.
Mhm.
In this case, so it's more likely that the person, if they write you a strong letter. If they
Mhm.
don't write, it's okay. And another thing which is a reality but not very good is that some letters are actually written by the students. Nowadays, maybe written by ChatGPT and has a little bit of modification and then sent.
Yeah.
So that, frankly speaking, is not very helpful. And
Mhm.
as faculty who read a lot of letters, we can really tell.
I see. So that's about applications.
Mm,
So another question we are interested in is how to be successful in research.
mm.
Like for example, how to do the research in undergrad and graduate studies, and also how to become a mature researcher. So, can you give some suggestions on this?
Well, my experience is that physics is different
Mhm.
from many other disciplines, one might say every other discipline, insofar as that students need to make conceptual jumps in their thinking from high school to beginning undergrad, and then from junior undergrad to senior undergrad, from undergraduate to graduate student, and graduate student even into postdoc. There are just certain concepts, certain ways of doing things that take time to assimilate. So I think students that work in the subject need to understand that, and need to understand that if they're confused at a given time, it's probably part of this maturation process. That being said, when you're an undergrad, you're primarily acquiring knowledge in classes from teaching. When you are a graduate student, you're beginning as a producer of knowledge, and you're actually learning by doing. You're actually learning how to do research by doing it, somewhat in the same way that the best way to learn how to fix a car is to be an apprentice mechanic with
Mhm.
a more senior mechanic guiding you. But ultimately, the only way to learn how to fix a car is to fix a car. And the
Mhm.
only way to learn how to do physics research is to do the research. That's where I think the supervisor student relationship becomes very important. And I think it's quite important that a student is able to work well with their supervisor. And
Mhm.
I have seen, unfortunately, situations where this has not happened, and those students did not have a very good experience in their master's degree or their PhD degree.
Mhm.
But the chief difference in going from undergrad to graduate student is you move from being an acquirer of knowledge to a producer of knowledge.
Mhm.
Undergraduates do, at times, certainly at the University of Waterloo, have opportunities to carry out research under supervision, and then they can start that apprentice process a bit early. But I would say that is basically what
I
it's
see.
like.
Right. This is this being able to work with the supervisor is very important. Actually, if we will check about the history, that there is academic family tree, that you indeed see that many of the very successful top leading researchers in this decade are the students of the top researchers of the last decade.
Yeah.
So when I just entered research, I was wondering why it is the case. But after doing research for some time, so this is indeed that as a student, so a lot of students very capable to learn, but really they have to be supervised to learn about how to do research again. And this learning how to do research is not like industry that can be standardized, but is indeed from not only working together, but for example, chatting and see what the supervisor thinks is important. All these kind of things so matters for a student to be a good student. So this working well with the supervisor is very important. And that actually usually not only means research capability, but also being able to discuss with people, for example, something like that. A lot of people consider it not as important by looking at, for example, the TV series Big Bang Theory that Sheldon doesn't look like that. But usually, so this is a nice thing well, it's not the only important thing, not the most important thing maybe, but it's a very important thing that being able to communicate with people, including supervisor and peers and also other professors. Yeah, learn from other people. Yeah.
By working well with your supervisor, you learn things like intuition and judgment and which problems you go after and why, when you aggressively attack and when you retreat to think. And there isn't an algorithm to teach these things. They're learned by experience. And I would say, as he said, not just with the supervisor and student, but as you go on, other professors can contribute as well.
Yeah, that I can really share my experience that when I was a grad student, when I was in the Institute for Theoretical Physics in Beijing, and I was really fortunate at that time. There are some programs that inviting the leading researcher of this field for a month staying there, not only just going for a conference and then leave. So in these chances, I had a chance to talk to many of the very great scientists in this field. And for example, Henry Tai really impressed me by showing what kind of research is important, and that not only influenced me but also quite a few students. After many, after more than 10 years, I still hear them talking about what Henry said about what are the important work. So, talking with top researchers of the field, I think this is very important.
Yeah. Thank you for the suggestions on application and the research. So that's all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so this is one of them.